Okay.
Sorry.
Everybody please silence their cell phones and declare a quorum. If you please stand for the flag salute and remain standing for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please help us come together tonight, ever mindful that we were elected to serve the citizens of Warr Acres. Please help us make the right choices in assisting those that we represent. Please watch over and help guide us through our newly elected officials as we go through our agenda tonight. Protect all of our first responders as they go daily into harm's way. Bless this council, the citizens of Warr Acres, the state of Oklahoma, and the United States of America. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Item number 2 is administer the oath to our council people. First up will be Judy Myers.
Over here.
Raise your right hand, please. I can see this. I, Judy Myers,
I, Judy Myers,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Warr Acres, Oklahoma,
of the City of Warr Acres, Oklahoma,
and that I will not
and that I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or any other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
my duties as councilwoman,
my duties as councilwoman,
Ward 1,
Ward 1,
Public Works Authority Trustee,
Public Works Authority Trustee,
Economic Development Authority Trustee,
what was that again?
Economic Development,
Okay, Economic Development Trustee,
okay, to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you need to sign this later.
Okay.
And Judy, you can just come up and take Pat Woolley's place.
Everybody sign them after
Thank you.
Mayor, do I need a DO pin?
Deal thing? I would like to see that.
We'll have to reappoint somebody.
So,
Next month, we'll have to.
next up is Mike Schmidt.
Who wants to do it? Doesn't have to be this month.
I, Mike Schmidt, do hereby solemnly swear
Do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Warr Acres, Oklahoma,
of the City of Warr Acres, Oklahoma,
and that I will not
that I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money
any money
or other valuable thing
or other valuable thing
for the performance
for the performance
or non-performance
or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
my duties as Councilman Ward 2,
my duties as Councilman Ward 2,
Public Works Authority Trustee,
Public Works Authority Trustee,
and Economic Development
and Economic Development
Authority Trustee
Authority Trustee,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good.
Next up is John Knipp. several times.
At him or in? Was that at him or?
Yes.
Different words.
Hey, John.
He's trying to take a selfie.
We got a great grandson in the house.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Do you want to
All right,
his-
that's a fourth. Yeah.
Ditto.
I, John Nip, do hereby solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and
defend
defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
Constitution
Constitution
of the State of Oklahoma,
of Oklahoma,
and the Charter and ordinances
Charter and ordinances
of the City of Warr,
of the
Oklahoma,
Warr, Oklahoma,
and that I will not
and I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money
any money
or other valuable thing
or other valuable thing
for the performance
for the performance
or non-performance
or non-performance
of any act
of any act
or duty pertaining to
or duty pertaining to
my office,
my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than compensation allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
my duties as councilman,
my duties as councilman,
Ward 3,
Ward 3,
Public Works Authority trustee,
Public Works Authority trustee,
and Economic Development
the Economic Development
Authority trustee
Authority trustee,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations again. Good luck with your new
And last but not least, Donnie Ryan.
Did him last because he's usually late.
I think it's just going around.
Arms have to give out there. Ready? I, Donnie Ryan,
I, Donnie Ryan,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Warr, Oklahoma,
of the City of Warr, Oklahoma,
and that I will not
and that I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money
any money
or other valuable thing
or other valuable thing
for the performance
for the performance
or
or
non-performance
non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation
other than the compensation
allowed by law.
allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
my duties
my duties
as Councilman Ward 4,
as Councilman Ward 4,
Public Works Authority trustee,
Public Works Authority trustee,
and Economic Development
and Economic Development
Authority trustee
Authority trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
And item number 3 is discussion and possible action on appointing a vice mayor and swearing him in. This year, after 4 years with John as my vice mayor, who's done a fabulous job for us, we're going to change things up a little bit. Had somebody that's asked me to become the vice mayor, and so we're going to give that a good shot this year. So I'd like to nominate Roger Godwin as my vice mayor.
I accept. Does that count?
Second?
Who's second?
Oh, I did.
Mayor.
Yes.
Never get to call you first. Tucker,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yay.
Nip,
Yay.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Godwin.
Yay.
Say yes.
Motion approved.
Abstain.
He changed his.
Now you got to go get sworn in.
All right, I'll go get order.
Don't get my chair.
I don't want your chair. I don't need the extra leg there.
I, Roger Godwin,
I, Roger Godwin,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey and defend
obey and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United
Put the
States,
wrong
the
hand up.
Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
He
and the
needs his
Charter
right
and
hand.
ordinances
Right hand.
Your other right.
you need to take pictures of me.
Dang it!
Keep that one.
Just go sit down.
Person held in contempt of the city council.
I'll see you in court.
That's our new vice mayor right there.
Uh,
Okay, so that,
All right. Let's see, we'll start over again.
that sounds good.
All right. I, Roger Godwin,
I thought you got,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear,
with my right hand
with my right hand, not my left,
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey and defend
obey and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of
the
Oklahoma,
Constitution of the State of Oklahoma,
and the Charter and ordinances
and the Charter and ordinances
of the City of Warr Acres,
of the City of Warr Acres,
Oklahoma,
Oklahoma,
that I will not
or I will not
knowingly receive,
knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or other valuable thing
any money or any valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office
pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation
other than the compensation
allowed by law.
allowed by law.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
my duties as Vice Mayor,
my duty as Vice Mayor,
Vice Chairman, and
Vice
Vice
Chairman
Chairman of the Public Works Authority
of
Trust,
the Public Works Authority Trust,
and Vice Chairman
and Vice Chairman
of the Economic Development
of the Economic Development
Authority and Trust
Authority and Trust
to the best of my
to the best
ability.
of my ability.
Congratulations.
Item number 4 is presentation to outgoing Councilman Pat Woolley. We were going to do another one for Planning Commission Chairman Bob Weba, but he's had some surgery and won't be here tonight, so we'll put that off till the next time he's here. So Pat, if you'll come up to the podium. This says, with utmost gratitude, we thank you, Pat Woolley, for your fervent service to the citizens of the city of Warr Acres from 2009 to 2022. As mayor from 2009, we had to write real small, you did a lot of things while you were here. As mayor from 2009 to 2018, you facilitated many needed projects for the city, such as street overlays at Northwest 50th and Northwest 63rd Street, and MacArthur from 63rd to Northwest Expressway. Sidewalks across the city, residential street rehabilitation, school zone safety, sewer rehabilitations, landscaping of the City Hall complex, which included signage and inlaid sidewalks, gardens and Warr Acres welcome signs on 39th Street and the intersection of 50th and 49th and MacArthur, with brick inlays Warr Acres as well as beautiful benches, landscaping and signage. There are also 2 energy efficiency grant projects at the community center and at the City Hall complex. In 2018, you stepped aside as mayor, but continued your service to the residents of Ward 1 Councilman. The citizens of Warr Acres will forever be indebted to you for the commitment of getting these projects accomplished. Presented this 15th day of February 2022. Did you read something else? We have to get the bigger part.
I like to talk, right? Council knows that.
Hey, wait a minute, Pat, we're gonna put the timer on you.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. The most important for me getting any kind of award or even serving the city is because of my wife. She you heard of Goff widow, she was the city of Warr Acres widow. In other words, she put up with me being mayor all those years and council, going to council meetings, and she said it all. So I owe it all to her. Thank you.
Pat, I'm sorry we didn't get that statue out there in the middle of 50th with the fig. I said, I'm sorry we never got that statue out there in the middle of 50th intersection with the fig leaf.
Yeah, when the architects looked.
And I was writing that up. I was like, man, I'm not gonna get to put that on here.
Yeah, they were gonna take, a turnabout like they have on Flashing down there. But we had like too much property, but I thought, well, let's put a statue. And I won't say what kind of statue it would be.
Okay, with that, we'll go to item number 5, which is recess to the lobby for some cake.
And I'm just gonna leave it alone because.
Okay. I gotta get
People
my,
can watch.
I gotta get my.
Yes.
Are you a Super Bowl fan? Watch the Super Bowl?
It says recess to the fire pit.
And it's like, oh, I'll show up for it.
Yeah.
This is the first.
Hey Pam,
All right?
Yes. He doesn't want to drive over to the fire bay.
is this the first time we've had one since?
I don't know what that note is.
I wonder if
And that
you
was
had to
something
reread it.
Jim had to have put on there.
Oh, by the way.
And then if they do that one, it's here.
Yeah, they knocked out the exit.
House because now we have to.
It's actually
Oh, that's fancy
Okay,
pants.
you're good.
Got that for my kids. They're Christmas skinny.
Okay, we're not going to reconvene. Item number 7 is call to the public. Karis, you're welcome to come up first.
I seen he was like soft.
And we're going to do we got a very, very expensive timer.
Okay,
We almost have it paid off, so be very careful.
okay. Mayor, city councilman, other city officials, I just want to give a quick update on the animal shelter from a volunteer's perspective. Great story, first of all, about how volunteers are making an impact on the socialization and care of the animals. We had a dog come in. She was owner surrendered right at Christmas. Her name was Frog the dog. Frog was supposedly a dog that didn't like other dogs, but volunteers were out there. This was during the 2 weeks while we had all the officers out with COVID. We were out there twice a day with her. She has since been pulled to OK Humane. She's been adopted. She's with a family with another dog, did great with her foster family with the dog too. So she is a true success story for the city of Warr Acres and this volunteer program. It really shows that volunteers can make all the difference for a dog that is sadly kind of dumped at the city's doorsteps for care. On a sad note, I do have to let you guys know there is a confirmed case of parvo at the shelter. There was a puppy that came in with parvo. Well, we won't know for sure how it got parvo, but there is now live active parvo in the grass at the shelter and in the shelter. Parvo will stay in the grass for 7 to 10 years. It will stay inside the building for over 7 months. Every animal that's there right now is not vaccinated, so if your dog is impounded and then returned to you, you need to take it to a vet ASAP, because it could be now carrying parvo, or it could bring it home to other animals that you have in your home. On that note too, there are some improvements that we are working on with the mayor. We've got a meeting coming up later this week to talk to him about different volunteer activities and things that are going on there. Just this year alone, we have spent over 160 hours volunteering at the shelter, so we think we are making a difference and showing the community that Warr Acres and its shelter can be a place that they can depend upon for the care of their animals. Lastly, a few volunteers had a couple of quick ideas they wanted me to share if there's time, and it looks like there's
You got just a little bit of
left. So one of it was to update the website to have maybe some just friendly, gentle reminders of like weather issues when we're going to have really super cold temperatures. Make sure to bring your pet inside. Another one suggested, could we put fun animal holidays on the calendar? March 25th or 23rd is National Peppy Day, for example. April 11th is National Pet Day. Maybe try to help get some traction on y'all's website for things to do. One other last idea was if a puppy comes in or a dog and it doesn't have a name, ask the community to help us come up with names for these pets. Again, just trying to get them engaged with the city. And that's all I have for this time. If you guys have anything you want me to do next time, let me know.
Perfect timing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will see you Thursday. And by the way, they have helped us tremendously. Our animal control officer was out for a while, and they came in and picked up all the slack on that. And she came back for a day or two, I think, day, Chief, but then she went back out another medical procedure. They came in and helped us with that. So they've done a great job for us. We appreciate it very much. And next up, we'll bring Pat Woolley.
You get 2 minutes.
Here, you all think you got rid of me.
He's now in the most dangerous position ever. He's back to being a citizen.
Most dangerous what?
Troublemaker.
You're the most dangerous position that you've been in since 2008. You're just a citizen.
Is to be a citizen, that's right.
Call your council.
Oh, don't think he won't. Don't take too long. You got a 3-minute timer going?
We do. Here we go.
I knew they did. Anyway, I wanted to speak on item 13, and it's regarding to allow chickens and roosters in people's backyards. I am not for it. If I was on the council, I would vote no. And there was a lot of reasons. Some of it was brought up the last council meeting because of the diseases that can happen when it rains and someone underneath the chicken coop and it comes right over the other yard. And 5% of the hospitalization were kids under 5 years old. And it's because they get out there and play. They don't know it. Salmonella poisoning, you can poison your dogs. There's an awful lot of other reasons. I would suggest that, well, let's put it this way. discussion y'all will have. I hope it's brought up, even though you're gonna vote yes, that you'll talk about it. I hope you do. I know that, well, I lost my train of thought. Well, that's a biggie. Anyway, I hope that if you do decide to, majority says, yeah, let's have chickens, then I would hope, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, the ordinance that I saw in our packet, I don't see so good. I have that problem also. Before and then after the accident, worse. And it's hard for me to read without a magnifying glass. You take a magnifying glass and try to read size 8 font or 10 font or whatever in a couple of pages, it's kind of difficult. But anyway, what I saw, the ordinance, it appeared to be just a couple of paragraphs, unless I missed some of it, Matt. Is that all it was?
And Pat, you didn't miss
Saying we
any-
authorize it?
It essentially, and I'm going to do this just to pause this time. The ordinance, 3 of the paragraphs are already there. There's just 1 new paragraph being added. The ordinance does not currently prohibit chickens or roosters, and so what we had last month was an ordinance that would directly address it to prohibit roosters, allow chickens. The council voted that down. So it's basically there are certain animals that are not that are prohibited. That's not one of them. So the ordinance that's back tonight is merely one that the new subsection C, the subsection C is the new language, which would address where they have to be housed.
Well, I was concerned for the city inspector, code enforcer, and the different complaints people would complain about, and then how do they address that? How can they cite somebody that's not setting up a pen that's approved pen, that they just throw something together with some chicken wire? And then if they take care of the droppings and if they have the wings clipped or not clipped, who's gonna check all that out? There's many things, if you look at all the different problems, and then ask, who's gonna do that? It's gonna be on our code enforcer, and they're not gonna have any ordinance to back them up. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
And again, the only thing that's on here tonight is the location of the chicken coop, so doesn't have anything to do with the chickens and the roosters.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you all.
Barbara, you're up next.
Well, Pat hit most of what I was going to talk about, but I have just one really important thing, is that you limit the number of chickens. I mean, we have 4 dogs or 6 cats, I don't know what, but there is a number. And I think that we should limit it to a certain given number of chickens and roosters.
Okay.
Pat covered the sanitation part. And it seems to me that people bought a house and 6-8 months later, the neighbors come in with chickens. There ought to be some way that permission is given by your neighbors. I don't know how you do that, but those are the 2 things on mine, the sanitation and the number of animals.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
Item number 8 is the consent docket. Items A through D, and item number 9, items removed from the consent docket.
Make a motion to approve the consent docket A through D.
I'll second that.
Nip,
Yay.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Ryan,
Yay.
Godwin,
Yay.
Tucker,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Item number 10, receive reports from staff. Chief Patty?
The only thing I would like to add is to, again, publicly thank all of the citizens and everybody who supported the bond. As I put in my report, we're in our building now, and it is fantastic. I've talked with some of you a little earlier. We've got a few little issues like you're going to have, but I walk around that building and I'm just just amazed at how wonderful it is. And just a big thank you to all the citizens and all of you all who supported it. So thank you.
Thank you. Chief Mahaffey?
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Pam?
Nothing. I do.
Uh-oh.
In my report, I'm sure you all saw the general fund report, and it actually showed that we brought in more revenue in the 12 months of 2021 than what we had expenditures. I don't remember ever having that happen before. I was totally shocked when I started inputting the numbers, and I was just like, because usually we are taking some of what we had carried over into the year from the previous year. So that's gonna be really nice, because that should give us more money to carry over into 2022 than, hopefully, than what I anticipated.
So we can
That was a
spend,
nice surprise.
so we can spend more now?
No, that does not mean start spending money,
So it works at my
or
house.
you'll hear from me.
Mr. Love?
Wants to hear from you.
Nothing to add?
Mike?
I'd like to thank all my employees, Cheryl, Mike Woodard, all the guys down at Public Works, keeps everything picked up and cleaned. The ice storm was snow plowing and stuff, so it was fairly minor. Most of the people stayed at home. Thank you for staying at home, not getting out and driving. So,
But they did a great job.
yeah, they did a great job, and so those that needed to get out, so. And also, the truck that we ordered last month, as you know, with the chip shortage, we might get it in August, maybe July. So fortunately, we purchased that because there's not very many trucks available, so.
Thank you, sir. City engineer, Greg?
Just a couple of quick points on my report. ACOG did have an update of projects this past week. Our TAPS 2 sidewalk project is in review for right-of-way right now. All the right-of-way has been, or actually they're just construction easements have been secured. So as soon as ODOT reviews that, hopefully we'll get a letting date for those sidewalks. ACOG also announced additional funding because of the Recovery Acts. They pulled the applications for the next round of transportation alternative programs, which would be sidewalk, pedestrian type improvements, until they find out exactly how much extra money they'll have, and then they'll open up that application. And so we'll want to look and see if there's a few projects that we might be able to apply for on that. So it looks like there will be, normally there's around 20 million to spread between, the 31 communities part of ACOG, but because again of our traffic and our location in the city, we have a good opportunity to make applications that will be successful. So we just need to look at projects. So when they're ready to make that call for projects, we can go out for that. So
we have more projects?
We're gonna keep as many projects as we can. So anyway.
City planner? Nothing yet. Okay, thank you. Troy? This
Good
may be
evening,
Troy's
council.
last time up here.
What's that?
It may even be your
Oh,
last time up here.
I believe so, yes. So just a couple of updates as we're closing out on the bond issue on the building side of things. So yes, congratulations on moving into the police station. So that's been over the last couple of weeks. There are, as Chief Patty mentioned, a few issues that Lingo's continuing to take care of. A new one came up last week with some paving on the west side of the building and the parking lot. So they'll be doing some testing to find out what's happening on that and get that those sections of concrete replaced as necessary. And of course, Lingo will continue to deal with any warranty issues that come up during the warranty period on the police station. And honestly, they're good to come back and deal with issues even beyond the typical traditional one-year warranty period. I think there's also, some lighting maybes that came up even just in the last couple of days about changing out some dimmers in one of the areas. So in the animal shelter, just a couple of minor issues that are still working on the Lingo side of things to address some HVAC issues, balancing. I think the exhaust fan issue has been resolved now. There's a couple of other minor issues that are on the list that Lingo's taking care of on the animal shelter. On the fire station, signage has been installed, so we're ahead of the game on signage on this project. So that's out of the way. We did a walkthrough last Friday with the staff and with the mayor. Just kind of a preliminary walkthrough. Wasn't really considered a punch list as much as it was just let's identify any major issues that might come into play that we need to take care of. So that happened on Friday. The expectation for the formal punch list is next Wednesday, February 23rd. There is some fencing that's going to be installed starting this week. They're expecting perimeter fencing. They're expecting that to be in the 2 to 3 week period to get finalized, so that'll extend slightly past the end of the month, but their intention is to have the building ready to be turned over to the department by the end of February, except for those minor fencing issues. And as far as I know, that's it. There's not been any financial changes or the schedule update we just talked through. Any questions that you might have of me for the fire station?
I noticed you do have the doors up.
Yes, yes. So the doors came in early.
They are red.
They are red.
Signs.
They did get finished. They did get installed. There are, of course, as with there typically has been, but there are some minor issues with the operators. They sent the wrong operators. And so the new operators have been ordered. They're coming. So right now the doors are in. They're just not operational right now. So, yes.
For anybody that hasn't seen the springs on those things, those springs are like that big around. They're huge.
The doors are heavy.
Yes, they are very heavy. It's actually 3 sets of hinges. There's like a 3-inch, a 6-inch, and an 8-inch or something.
Well, I just want to say it's been my pleasure working on these projects with you over the last several years. I've enjoyed the opportunity to get to know the council and to get to know the staff at the city level. So, and I won't be coming back to the council meetings on a regular basis, but obviously if there's any need for me to come back for any issues that might come up, just, I'm sure.
Troy, you've
people
done
let
a
me know.
great job. We've enjoyed working with you.
Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Item number 11, discussion and possible action on authorized Chief Patty to purchase one used police SUV, either a Dodge Durango or a Ford Explorer. We're doing our best to get the Ford Explorer from the Kansas Highway Patrol for an amount not to exceed $30,000. This is in our CIP fund. Chief Patty, if you want to explain that a little bit.
This is the one we budgeted, one of my detective units. It's a 2014 Tahoe. The engine's going out on it. And it started going out middle of last year, so we've been limping it along until we could get into this budget year. Initially, we thought we would have to take a Dodge, but our guy in Kansas hit me up about 3 weeks ago and said he had a Explorer. It'll be the same, less than 50,000 miles like we've been buying. So I told him absolutely I'd rather have that over the Dodge. It should be in and ready to be picked up in the next couple of weeks, so that's when we had it for approval for purchase. And it'll be going to Detective Livesey.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Godwin,
Yay.
Nip,
Yay.
Ryan,
Yay.
Tucker,
Yes.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion approved.
Item number 12, discussion and possible action on a change order with Tricourse in the amount of $1,673.25. Money come from the bond issue. This was a deduct that we had from Lingo for like $3,900 because we knew that Tricourse could do it cheaper. We never put it actually on the Tricourse, but on Tricourse order. So that's just adding that to their order.
Depending
I
on.
make a motion to approve.
Second.
I'd like to actually.
Give it to William.
No.
What was Donnie?
Is Donnie?
All three of them? Two.
All I got was.
I got excited.
I thought I saw you say it too. Godwin,
Yay.
Ryan,
Yay.
Nip,
Yay.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Myers,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion approved.
Item number 13, discussion and possible action on ordinance amending 6.08.030 requiring chickens or roosters be confined on a resident's property and establishing location restrictions for structures housing said items or animals. Matt, I'll let you take this one.
Month number 3. If you'll recall, the first month, and Councilwoman, I believe you were here as a citizen, so you got to hear the discussion, but just as a brief history, issue first came up, we put it on for discussion only, then came back last month with a ordinance that would, I believe, ban roosters, and then would have restrictions on where chicken coops could be located. substantial discussion among the council members about the ban on roosters. Seemed like the prevailing sentiment was that there wasn't a desire to ban roosters, so had a vote on that. That was, I would say, failed. The ordinance was not adopted. Came back this month to bring a pared down version of what you had last month. What this would require, I threw in there that the chickens, roosters would have to be confined on the property. Even if that language was out of the ordinance, it is still, we have a general ordinance that requires all animals to be kept under the owner's control confined on their property. The major addition was that any structure or building where the animals would be housed, a coop, should be located in the backyard, shall be located in the backyard, and may not be closer than, and I'm going to say fill in the blank feet from the property line. Discussion last month, it seemed like I brought you the concept that Oklahoma City uses, which puts the proximity restriction as a relation to other buildings that are off-site, other residences, commercial buildings, churches, et cetera. It seemed like the sentiment from the council I was picking up on was not linking it to where another structure is located, but putting the restriction as it relates to the property line for that property. I put 10 feet in there. Where did I get 10 feet? Because it was easy to type. I mean, it literally, I didn't want to give you a blank in the ordinance. And so it's not a matter of I'm saying that 10 feet is the answer I'm recommending. It's a fill in the blank. If you have a desire to, just as a matter of process, if you have a desire to approve something that looks like this ordinance, but you want it's greater than or less than 10 feet, you would move to amend that section of the ordinance to change it to whatever the desired foot limit would be. And then it would have to be seconded. There'd have to be a vote on that amendment. I've got it pulled. Normally we don't do substantial changes in ordinances and then vote on the ordinance at the same meeting. Since that's really the only issue before you, I've got it pulled up here in Word so that if you do amend it and it's adopted, I can email it to Pam from the meeting so that she's got the final copy. Which she already had me sign as to legality, the 10-foot one, so that might end up in the trash.
I think the 10 feet one is good.
Well, isn't there an ordinance now about like sheds and structures from your back property line? You're not allowed to have them within a certain amount, and I'm not sure if that's, I think it's 20 actually.
I'm going to look at Mike W.
6 feet from the side, 10 feet from the back.
Okay, so it's 10, it follows that, okay.
Some people don't have more than 10 feet.
Right, absolutely.
But do we need a restriction for distance on larger lots? We do have acreages in more acres. Seems like we ought to have a different distance or no distance restriction on a lot that's over a half an acre, that the restriction would only apply to a standard residential lot or anything less than a half acre.
I get a little leery when you start having those distinctions in the law, unless there's a rational basis for it. What I would say to you in response to that would be, you may have an acre lot that backs up to a smaller lot. What I was picking up on, the sentiment from the council was, the concern isn't really where it's located on your lot, it's where it's located in relation to, and I'll just use an example, my lot.
Someone else's.
And so, if you have an acreage, that would give you a lot more space in your backyard to put it. It would provide that buffer from adjacent properties.
Yeah. The 10 feet gets it to where they can't put it next to their fence on the side of their house and cause a real problem. So I like the 10-foot rule.
I would actually like the idea of penalizing somebody because they got a bigger lot. Or giving them leniency because they got a bigger lot. Put the same ordinance on them as everybody else.
I'd actually like to see a little more than 10 foot. I'd like to expand that to 15.
We have people that don't have 10 foot.
Well, and keep in mind, as worded right now, it's to any property line, so that would include the sideline and the back line. As Mike W. said, for general structures, you've got a 6 foot from the side, 10 foot from the back. So if we went to 15, would that be 15 from any side of it? I mean, we can do that. I just want to make you aware that if we amended it to 15, it would be as to side and back.
I want to say something about Barbara's comment. I think she said she wanted a number amount of chickens. There's not a number on dogs, not a number on cats. Why are you going to put them on chickens?
There is a number on dogs and cats.
Sorry, numbers. 42 is a good number.
Part of the reason that we're in this, and
Answer to everything.
this is me speculating because this goes back to prior city attorneys, and I say that in the plural. When you read our animal code, it appears that we started with one code, one chapter, added a second chapter to address exotic animals, added a third chapter to address pigs and swine. And so part of the reason that we're in this is we've essentially got, the intent looks like it started as, it has to be dogs and cats, nothing else, and you have to get them licensed. Then we expanded it to where you can have animals, but you can't have these animals. So you have to license a dog or a cat. You can only have a certain number, but you can have chickens or roosters, no license, no limit. It's just the way that I sometimes refer to ordinances or laws as looking like chewed up bubble gum, just because you chew on one section and then it doesn't look like the rest, and you chew on another, and then you end up looking at a series of ordinances wondering how they're all supposed to fit together because they don't seem like they flow.
That came about when we found people with exotic snakes over in an apartment complex, so the council took action. And then, of course, when the swine, or the little baby pig, potbelly pig thing was so popular, a councilman we had at the time happened to sell those, and wanted them allowed, so that's where the swine and pig ordinance got added to it. So, yeah, it's been, there was a cause for every one of those, but
We define terms in the animal code that are never used in the animal code, which generally, from a legal standpoint, you only define a term if you're going to use it. And I'm sure at some point these terms were used and then they were taken out, but the definition is still there.
There is a limited number of dogs or cats on ordinance.
And so that I make sure, because I know what it is, but better to read it to you than to tell you what it is, and then it turns out I'm wrong.
It says over 4. It's on the, yeah, it's 4 for cats, and I guess it's on the ordinance.
That's 4 months old.
Oh, 4 months old.
That's 4 months.
Family over 4 months
4 months
old.
of age.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I would like to talk something about B. Says all require vaccination and city tags and will be attached to all dogs and cats at all times. I ain't seen a cat yet that had a tag on it.
If you find a cat that doesn't scratch the tag off, let me know.
Cats because they want to scratch up my interior if I leave my window down.
I can point you to a city in the metro area that their leash law as worded applies to cats as well. And thankfully, I'm a prosecutor there, and I've never had to prosecute a cat owner for not having his cat on leash.
That's nuts. I mean, so
Get the animal control officer to start picking up them stray cats.
it's better than some people do.
Cat herder.
Personally, I think the 10-foot thing works out really well because legally lot lines are usually 5 to 10 feet on the side, so you can't put anything up, so you have to go into the backyard. So I think that really was a good way to do that, personally.
Wanted to address, it's not
This
in
says
608-030, but in 608-120, owning, possessing, or harboring more than 4 dogs or cats or combination thereof is prohibited. So you get 4 dogs, cats, any combination of that, it's a limit of 4.
Make a motion to approve this ordinance.
Second.
Nip,
Yay.
Godwin,
Yay.
Schmidt,
So we're not gonna talk about it anymore?
No, we can.
I'm gonna say no, because you guys just went ahead and made a motion to stop the discussion, so I'll say no.
Von Thayer,
Donnie has
I'm gonna have to go no.
10 minutes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Ryan,
No?
Myers,
I too had a question, but I'll say yes.
Evans,
No.
Todd Warr.
Mayor.
I would remind that if a no vote merely means that it's still on for discussion, it doesn't mean that we're done with the ordinance.
Say that again?
A no vote just means that the motion does not pass. It doesn't mean that we're done with the item. A yes vote means we're done with the item. We move to the emergency clause.
I'll say no so everybody can get their questions answered.
Did you say no?
Yeah.
So the item is still on the table. It's not that it failed, it's just that that particular motion did not get
Right.
it.
Oh, people stop talking questions.
So if you have questions or
Now, if
comments.
you have questions, you want to make another comment?
Can we make those questions now?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am.
So how do we, there are obviously a lot of people that do have coops up already. How are we going to what do I want to say? How are we going to enforce those or get them to change to these standards? How is the city going to go about doing that?
I'll go with the simple answer, and it's a wonderful concept called legal nonconformance, which is an artful way of saying grandfathered.
Okay.
Essentially, if you've already been engaged in an activity that was not illegal at the time, and the law has changed and it's made illegal, you can continue to have that, in this case, structure at its location. But if you ever move it, alter it, improve it, then you have to come into compliance.
Any other questions?
There's no way to put a limit on the number
Not the
part
way,
of this ordinance.
not the way this.
Correct. It would have to be another ordinance. I will tell you, I think I had it in the memo 2 months ago. Lots of different ways that chickens are addressed across the state. There are some cities that have existing ordinances. My recollection is that the ones I've seen, it's 6 or 9.
I was gonna say a half dozen,
Oklahoma City just did 6 and no roosters. So,
yeah, which I think would be a great ordinance to
which
have.
they did that the same night that we had ours last month.
Yes.
But since what's on the agenda is strictly limited to where they can be confined, we can't amend it to address restrictions on the number.
So do we have a list of addresses of people who have chickens and roosters? Because everybody's gonna say, I was grandfathered in if you find them with a chicken and a rooster. I'll be like, I already had them before this was passed. I mean, how are you ever gonna enforce that? Like what Pat said, unless we nominate Pat as the chicken enforcer. Anybody wanna second it?
Second.
But I
You
mean,
just thought you got that.
I just want to see Pat walking around the city going,
We can get him one of them scooters.
Stand outside, and if they haven't clipped their chickens and their leg, I'll take care of it.
and you have dinner taken care of.
I have been.
So the answer to your question, though, it's a little more nuanced, only in as much as it doesn't matter if they have the chickens right now. It matters if they have a structure to house them. And so if somebody were to allege that, hey, they just put this coop up and they came in and said, no, I had it for a while, well, that would go down as an ordinance violation. It'd go to court, and Judge Sims would have to decide whether or not they predated the ordinance or not, based on the evidence available.
I mean, to me, this ordinance, I would think there should be, just like we're registering cats and dogs, there should be some way that these people come in and register. I don't care how many they have, but register that, yes, this address has chickens and roosters. So that way, if an enforcer has to go out, or they can randomly check on them to see, are they up to, we don't even have a code for what a chicken coop's supposed to be. I mean, that's a whole other thing. I mean, you could just put up wire and say that's a chicken coop. I mean, but if people complain, we should at least have something that says, I have a chicken coop, she doesn't, he does, and then if we had to go out, someone go out and check on it. Because like what Pat said, people aren't going to be checking all the time to see who has chickens and roosters. But
The only time it's gonna get checked is when it's somebody else, a neighbor has a complaint or something like that. And if I'm not wrong, like now, somebody running a business out of their backyard or whatever, if they've got the 6 or 8 foot fences, we can't do that
who can't?
right now, can we? Our inspectors?
Yeah.
They had their gate open.
I mean, John could probably walk by.
Right, I'm
and-
just saying, but we're not allowed to, if somebody wants to put chicken coop in their backyard and then get an 8 foot fence. So there's no reason to have a wording in black and white of an ordinance that we absolutely, like you mentioned, cannot
We put an
enforce.
ordinance that they have to register them, doesn't the other people that's already got them grandfathered don't have to register? So that wouldn't solve anything either.
Can make a stronger argument as to the animal as opposed to structures on the property, like use of the property, it's registering the animal as opposed to, and that's where it becomes kind of fun is, do you register each of the chickens or do you register as your house has chickens? And
depending on the
please, if
size
you go
of the
that route,
coop.
don't require tags to be on there.
It'd be a fire hazard to have over.
Well, and also with chickens, like there's also a healthy ratio of space and everything too. So, I mean, 10 to 12 usually is where people kind of stop because you can't build a bigger structure to make sure they're healthy, So there's a formula that goes with that. And I can get that information too to help with those things.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
y'all
we
wanna talk
don't got
about
a lot
numbers,
big
but-
enough to put in a Tyson organization.
2 is a really good number.
Do they have to have a permit to have chickens? Is that something?
No.
Not now.
As near as I can tell, it started as only dogs and cats, and you have to have a license. Then it got amended to where you could have all animals except for this, but the only licensing requirement remains just for dogs and cats. So what's the purpose of licensing? In reality, it's to make sure they've got their vaccinations, that you got all that information. It's not so much the license, it's knowing where they are and that they've got their everything up to date. If you wanted, we couldn't do it with this ordinance, but if you wanted to add a licensing requirement, not because you care about the individual chickens, but because you care about that you know where they're located, so that then, if you wanted code enforcement or a city inspector to go out to inspect to see if they do have a coop, we could add that to a future ordinance. That'd be about the only reason I would ever recommend you consider licensing, would be more to then know where they are to go see if they've got a coop.
So, like you mentioned a while ago, this is the third month. We had a general discussion, and did we call the public last month? Was it
Don't remember if there was a formal call to the public.
And then now we've got this month. Is there anyone of the council members or the mayor that have heard from the citizens?
No.
Either way.
The concern that I've heard is about the proximity of the coop towards the property line, which is why I would still like to extend that to 15 feet from the property line, because standard lot, 65 feet wide, it still allows 35 feet in the middle of your yard for the coop, not just for the chickens can go all the way to the fence, but the coop has to be within 15 feet. And I would actually like to make that a motion.
So it would be a motion to amend the proposed subsection C, change from 10 to 15.
Yes.
I would second that.
So just for everybody's edification, what you would be voting on, well, you're still in potential discussion and debate as to that motion, but once it comes up for a vote, you're not voting on the ordinance, you're voting on whether to amend the ordinance, the draft ordinance.
15 feet still allows 35 feet of building space for a coop, and that's way more than any property would need in the city.
Are we voting on
All right.
the amendment?
The
And
amendment
then
to
we'll
15
vote
feet.
on the ordinance, or the amendment and the ordinance in one vote?
It'd be the amendment because that may alter the vote on the
That's why
ordinance.
I'm like getting more paper.
Two different things.
Okay, so the amendment right now would be to amend it to 15 feet.
Correct.
Yes.
And
Any
then,
more questions on that before
I
we?
was gonna say, then there has to be a separate ordinance if we're trying to limit the number of chickens.
If you're trying to limit the number and
Chickens
or,
doesn't have anything to do with anything.
yeah, nothing tonight,
Not
but
tonight, but I'm saying it could be a future.
if you're wanting to address
Like
number.
what Roger was saying, that, more than 12 is unhealthy, so why would you want, there should be something in the
No,
ordinance.
I'm just saying, like, there's a formula to it, like however big the structure is, it's standard. There's just, I don't know what it is.
Right, but I'm saying, we should probably have something in there
Well, that's a whole other.
eventually. It's
Yeah, I mean,
a different meeting, but I'm just saying, I would like to see us, at least if we do pass this part, to have something, because the other concerns are the cleanliness of the coops and, somebody saying, my coop's this big, but you don't have a limit on chickens, so I got 45 of them.
42.
Okay, 42, right, and it should probably only hold 12. And so I could see that becoming the next issue, saying, well, Warr Acres, the city council said we can have chickens, so now I got 100 chickens, because there's not a limit on the chickens.
But if there is a science to it,
There is.
Right.
as Roger mentioned, then those are not going to be healthy chickens, and they're going to take care of themselves.
Right.
It's going to get down to the,
Okay, but,
That's a topic for
we
another
live in
day.
Oklahoma, and I'm telling you, there's gonna be people that have 100 chickens, because they say, I don't have to go to the store and get chickens, I'm just gonna eat all these chickens, I'm gonna have chickens all over the place, and then you're gonna have a sanitation issue. So I think if we put the formula as an ordinance somehow in there to say, follow these guidelines as far, or, somebody might come out, code enforcement might come out, because I can't remember who brought it up. I think it was Barb. If I bought a house and then 2 months later somebody comes and buys, rents, they don't even buy, because I can about guarantee it's probably somebody that's renting in our section that he's talking about, because I can hear it. They rent the house, they don't care about the house, and they get a bunch of chickens, they put a coop in the backyard, and then eventually they leave and they don't clean it up, and it's sitting there, and somebody else has to deal with it, and it's usually the person who had bought the house has nothing to do with chickens or roosters. So I would like to see us at least protect the rest of the city who doesn't have chickens and put that code, if you can get all that formula that we can eventually have another ordinance or something next month or the month after, then I don't know how the rest of you feel, but that's what I think should happen.
I like mine extra crispy.
Right.
Yet another reason why expanding it to 15 feet, because that just allows more of your property to absorb, when it rains, the runoff of the coop poop.
Coop poop. Is that a technical term?
It is.
It is now.
Okay, I do have a motion and a second.
Okay. Everybody done?
Yes.
Okay.
Ryan,
Yay.
Tucker,
Yes.
Nip,
No.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
He said yes.
He said
I just want to make sure this is really important. Myers,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Godwin,
Nay.
Mayor,
Yes.
I know you want to be the only one.
motion approved. The amendment was
Amendment
approved.
approved. Now, somebody wants to make a motion for the,
Are you guys done with discussion on the rest of the ordinance? Any other questions?
I have one more question. So is there, like we said, we couldn't really license the chickens or whatever.
It's a different.
But can we register the coops and have, put a line in the sand that people have to have their coops? I may be way off base, but that they have to register their coops with us so that we know who has coops and who doesn't.
It's like asking everybody to register who has a business in their backyard. That's not gonna happen.
Well, they have to come in and get a
They're supposed
accessory
to.
building permit.
Yeah, they're supposed to.
They're required to.
You got jokes.
Oh, my God.
You got jokes.
The answer,
Okay, but that's.
But it's a great
like
question.
every single
Those
year,
people
guys-
that are
It's a good question.
the
Those are
answer,
the same people that come and get the tax form for their garage sale, aren't they?
Yeah.
the answer to your question is, you can absolutely address that. It would have to be a future meeting, just because,
With every single.
essentially,
I know.
That's the same people that pay taxes.
you're limited
I think.
That's what he
to
said.
acting on what the public had noticed on the agenda you were acting on, which in this case was a limitation on where they could be located and where the structures could be located. Sounds like we'll have an ordinance at a future meeting addressing a formula for figuring out how many chickens you can have. And so it could either be addressed in that future ordinance or in a separate ordinance. But yes, it could be addressed. It would just have to be at a future meeting.
any other questions?
So now do we vote on the ordinance?
Need a motion?
If you make a motion.
So
Make a motion,
I'll second,
adopt the ordinance.
but I've got a question. Provided that they are confined on the property at all times, wouldn't that address what Pat was asking about clipping their wings?
They don't fly away.
No.
They just walk.
Stay
Well,
around their
but-
coop.
But
No, they're gonna
either
fly
way,
when something gets
but
after
what I'm saying is, his concern about them flying would be met by this line in the ordinance, correct?
His concern actually is addressed in an ordinance that's ironically entitled Animals Running at Large, but is worded as all animals must be confined on the property or under their owner's control while they're off the property. So I put it in here just to reiterate it, but technically it's already addressed elsewhere. It's just ironically titled Running at Large, even though technically if it flew off the property, it's not confined on the property.
Well, I can say if a chicken flies in my yard, it's gonna end up on my
Extra crispy.
Well, the problem is you have to kill it. And I
Put him in
promise
the
you don't
stew
want
pot?
to do
Just
that.
saying, yeah.
Kill it and pluck
I've
it.
plucked a chicken before. I'm not up
That'll
against
keep
it
him from
now.
flying in there again.
Possession's 9/10 of the law.
That's right.
He's not branded.
Good luck getting it back after that. Good luck getting it back after dinner.
Have we got a motion and a second?
Yes.
Good.
Bring a drumstick over.
Evans,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Nip,
Don't like the extra 5 feet, I'll say yes.
Godwin,
Yay.
Mayor,
Yay.
motion approved.
Item B, approval of emergency clause.
Motion to approve emergency
Second.
clause.
Ryan,
Yay.
Nip,
Yay.
Myers,
I somehow missed it.
I was just getting ready to say, can you explain to her what the emergency is?
By law, and this applies to statutes as well, but essentially, unless you adopt an emergency clause, they go into effect 30 days later, and Pam then has to publish in a paper the full ordinance as opposed to the title, emergency clause, emergencies, whatever you say it is. And essentially, in practice, it gets used to not have to incur the cost of publishing the full ordinance and to allow it to go into effect immediately.
Okay, and that's on the coops?
Yes.
Okay. Yes?
It's also a very high cost.
Yes.
So-
Especially when we have some longer ordinances.
The longer they are, the more
Thayer.
expensive.
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yay.
Schmidt?
Yay.
Evans?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Donnie, I'm officially resaving this on my computer where I store all my ordinances as the coop poop ordinance.
Coop poop. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Item number 14, questions or comments from the council. And Judy, since your first night, we'll start with you.
Okay. First of all, I have a lot to learn, so please be patient with me, and I may ask questions from time to time, just like that one. I was like, what was that? I want to say thank you to all the voters out there who got out and voted. I think we had a really good turnout. And I'm very excited to serve my city and will do the best job I can. And then I have a small little thing that I'd like to tell Mr. or Chief Patty and acknowledge one of his officers. I witnessed Officer Taylor drive an elderly woman to the bus stop, opened the door for her, made sure she got out, and waited there to make sure she was settled. And I even told him I thought what he did was a wonderful thing. And I wanted you to know that. So,
Appreciate that.
thank you. And that's all.
That's it. Mr. Volunteer.
Just want to thank the council, of course, and everybody who's come out for the meeting. That we really appreciate y'all coming out. City officials and that over this snow and all that. It was kind of a crazy time. Y'all did just an awesome, awesome job. As always, that you always do, and I just want to thank you for that.
Mr. Evans?
I just wanted to congratulate the police chief for getting into his new building, and soon, maybe within a month, we can say the same thing about the fire department, because it looks like we're on track to finish our bond issue on time
Very much on
and
time.
in the money. So I think that our constituents and ought to be happy that we told them what we thought it was going to cost. We kept it within the price that we had told them, and we've got some really nice facilities in the city that we can be proud of for a long time.
Thank you. Mike?
I would like to thank Pat Woolley for all of his years of service. I am up here today because Pat Woolley in 2016 said, "Hey, I hear you live in Warr Acres now." And I used to be a youth director at his church, and he taught Sunday school every Sunday. And he said now I owed him. So I appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I appreciate everything he's done for the city and for me personally. Thank you.
Thank you. Donnie?
First of all, Mayor, I'd like to commend you for your decision to, during the snowstorm, to make what probably was a very unpopular decision to keep our services safe and not have trash pickup. The conditions were just
Horrible.
unbearable, and I think that was a
I got very little,
very good decision.
very little negative feedback on that.
Really, good, because I know that something like that might come back and have a lot of complaints, but I applaud that decision and I appreciate that. And also I'd like to say welcome to Councilwoman Judy Myers. Congratulations on your election.
Mr. Tucker?
Same thing on that. Congratulations to Councilwoman Myers, and congratulations to the councilmen that won their elections as well. And also to Roger for vice mayor, and thanks to Pat Woolley and everybody else in the city. Thank you.
First of all, I want to say thank you for the honor of serving vice mayor. So I rearranged a lot of my life so that I could help gym and learn and be very active outside of being gone out of country, as Steph was concerned about. I will arrange things accordingly. But Pat, thank you for everything that you've done. I'm also here because of Pat. He asked me, or I came on many years ago, a decade ago, actually. And Dean Johnson trusted me to take his place, which is Stuff's brother. And I'm really honored that I get to keep serving and being a part of it and being more involved. And for all the staff, for everything you guys do, as always, police, fire, public works, man, you guys kicked booty on just the storm. Craig. And thank you, Mike, because you're like all over the place all the time. So, we just made your job harder. So, you're welcome. Thank you.
John?
Well, unlike the rest of y'all, I was not here because of Pat. I was here because of this guy asked me want to be on a planning commission. And when you don't pick up the trash, my next door neighbor has a lot of trash out there for me to have to mess around with. That's him, by the way.
It's the other way.
No, I want to thank the police and the fire, public works, and the office people. They all do a good job. Without them, the city wouldn't operate.
Amen.
And that's all I got to say.
Okay. I'd like to welcome the councilman back that ran unopposed, Mike, Donnie, John. I'd like to welcome Judy Myers to the council.
Thank you.
I think she's going to do a great job. She ran out, had an opponent in the election. She won by 70%. I'd say some things, but probably can't say it on the air here. I appreciate the whole council, all that you do to help us keep the city running. You do a great job. Look forward to working with everyone over the next year. I'd like to thank Roger for volunteering to be vice mayor. You may be sorry. I guess I can say the same thing about Pat. I can still blame him for getting me up here. An update on the bond projects. The animal control building has been done for a year. Police have moved into their building. It's going very well. They had very few hiccups. The 911 switchover went very smooth. I'm sure IT did not feel the same way because they were going crazy, but I didn't have any big problems with it. So, it looked painless on my side, so I guess it was okay. We switched to Bethany on the 911 for about 4 hours, and they took our calls, and then they broadcast those calls back out to us. So it went very well. The fire station getting very close to completion. We're hopefully the kind of move-in date that we're looking for is March the 15th, and I've got in here a big maybe on that with an exclamation point. So, once we move into the fire station, get everything done, we will have a grand opening for all 4 of the buildings at one time. We'll do it on a Saturday probably. The residential street projects are complete. We have a very small amount of dollars left that Mike will use to do pothole repairs and things in different areas. MacArthur widening project's pretty much back on track. We've got more driveways to pour to 34th Street and then a filler overlay. The filler overlay may be done in segments, but the final overlay, talking to Craig, will be done mostly all at once, and it'll be done in warmer weather than what we have right now. So the completion date on that is still in July, so we're hoping for that. And with that, I think we need to have Judy make our next motion.
Which is to adjourn?
Which is to adjourn.
You got to make it. They can't second them.
Okay. I motion we adjourn.
And John seconded. He'd already said it.
So close.
Myers,
Yes.
Nip, Schmidt,
Yay.
Godwin,
Yay.
Evans,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yay.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion approved.
Call the City of Warr Acres Public Works Authority meeting to order. Declare a quorum. Consent dockets, items A, B, and C. Item 3, anything to remove from the docket.
Motion to approve ABC.
Second.
Ryan,
Yay.
Nip,
Yay.
Godwin,
Yay.
Schmidt,
Yay.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Tucker,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion
And
approved.
Judy, you did such a good job on the last one.
Huh?
Those motion adjourned.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
Should I drag it out?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Or turn out the
I
lights.
motion that we adjourn the Public Works Authority meeting.
Second.
Everybody wants a second. I heard Mike.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want another piece of cake.
Wherever
Fogging it all.
Myers,
Yes.
Nip,
Yay.
Tucker,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yay.
Godwin,
Yay.
Von Thayer,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
excuse me, Schmidt,
Yay.
Mayor.
No.
Is that what we do?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
motion approved.
Where do they go? And then that just goes straight
Thank you,
down?
Pam.
Perfect.
I'm going in the morning.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're giving me all your stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
That app, you know that app,